Now.
Hello everyone! Welcome one and all to Mosport, or as it's known today, Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, with tyres spelled completely wrong because Americans, for round 5 of the SimRacingOnline Formula 1 1966 McLaren M2B Challenge. That's quite a mouthful, but we are going to have a 45-minute race today, and theoretically it could decide the championship. It probably won't, and it definitely won't so long as both Tim Muttram and Yucca Drug start this race. Just as I say that, Tim Muttram himself goes up to second place in the order, so it looks to me as if it's going to be Drug versus Muttram here again today, although we have seen plenty of other drivers get involved in that lead scrap throughout the course this year. Laurent Lons, of course, who's currently 4th in the order, is 3rd in the championship, and the only other driver to finish on the podium. He's finished on the podium at all 4 of the races so far this season. As Yucca Drug completes another lap, doesn't quite make an improvement, so let's watch Phil Brown for a bit. Phil Brown, of course, currently splitting Tim Muttram and Laurent Lons, and then, of course, we've also had features from Lewis Dufour, who's currently 5th. He's had some very good rounds so far, where he's been running up in that lead scrap, and then unfortunately retired from the race. So hopefully he'll be able to have a better race this time out and do a little bit better. Meanwhile, John Van der Geest improves to 6th place. We've got 11 drivers on the grid here today. That's a pretty decent number of drivers. I think we had less than that last time out at Rouen. I'll just double check that. Yeah, indeed, we only had 9 drivers, so we've gained 2, and the 2 that we've gained are Martin McLoone, who's currently in 11th place. He wasn't here last time out at Rouen, so good to see Martin back on the grid for, I think, the first round of this season. Who else is new? I believe we've had a return from Paul Anstey, because he was not on the grid last time out, so good to see Anstey back. I'm just trying to work out who the other driver we've gained is, because we don't have Maxime Tendil here. We do have Donny Yorth. So Donny Yorth, who's in 10th position, wasn't here last. He's another returning driver to this league, so good to have him back. Hello to Tom Bacchus, Bacchus, I think, who says, hey there, hi there, there in the YouTube chat. Hey there, hi there, there to you as well. Hope you'll enjoy today's worth of racing. Just to run you through the championship again, it's currently Yucca Drug leading that, but only by 8 points ahead of Tim Muttram. And there's going to need to be a change, or quite a significant change in... Sorry, I don't know what I'm saying there. What I mean is, with 8 points separating them, if Muttram wins the next 2 races and Drug finishes in 2nd position, they will end up equal on points, I believe, which would make it very, very interesting. I'm not entirely sure who would win the championship then. I think it would probably go to average finishing position, and I cannot work out just yet who would take that award, although I think it would probably be Drug, since last time out, of course, Muttram did not finish on the podium for the first time this season. Drug and Muttram, of course, have 2 wins each. No one else has won any races. Oh, big spin for Paul Anstey. He's going to hit the wall. So that's ruined that lap for Anstey there. But I was going to say, it's been a close season so far between the 2 of them. And both of them with 4 podiums to their name as well, out of 4 chances. So they have finished on the podium at every single round so far this season. And the other driver who's taken a lot of podiums, Tim Muttram has only taken 3 podiums, of course. John van der Geest has the other podium, and Laurent Lons has 4 to his name as well. So John van der Geest currently 4th in the championship, as we see Tim Muttram now go into his final flying lap of the qualifying session. So let's watch his lap from on board. You see him getting very sideways through turn 1. He always does that at every single corner of every single track that he goes to. This is Clayton Corner, known as corners 2A and 2B, which is weird. Oh no, just 2 and 2A, which is weird since I believe there's only 1 corner there. Turn 3 is Quebec Corner, I think, because it points in the direction of Quebec. And then we head up the hill through turn 4. Turns 5A, 5B and 5C here are known as Moss Corner. I personally would say that there's only 1 corner there, but never mind. Track map's gonna track map, and it's known as Moss Corner because Moss, I think, won one of the very first races that was ever held at this track. This straight, for some reason, counts as 2 corners. Mario Andretti straightaway. Turns 6 and 7, even though I really don't think there are any proper corners in it at all. And this here is turn 8, heading into the S's. Turn 9 is the penultimate corner. There are 10 official corners on the track. Here's the last one. This is White's Corner. And let's see what the lap is for Tim Muttram. Can he demote Yucca Drug and take pole position? Oh, not quite. It was very close. A 1:21.539, and I'm not sure. I think Laurent Lons is improving. Not sure if Drug is. He doesn't actually need to improve. Let's watch Drug, since he's going to cross the line first. If he can improve, that will give him even more of a buffer, even if Laurent Lons is still going to improve. Across the line comes championship leader Yucca Drug. He's already probably on pole, but he goes even quicker. It's a 1:21.198. That's a 10th quicker than he was. And here comes Laurent Lons in the Shark Nose liveried number 18. Crossing the line, he's currently 6th, and he goes 4th, so an improvement for Laurent Lons, and that is how your grid will line up. It's going to be Yucca Drug leading, followed by Tim Muttram, Phil Brown, Laurent Lons, Lewis Dufour, Paul Anstey, John van der Geest, Bill Grucock, Miko Alto, Donny Yorth, and then rounding out the field will be Martin McLoone in 11th position. So congrats to Yucca Drug for another pole position. That is his 3rd pole position of the season, putting him ahead of Tim Muttram in terms of poles. Before this round, they had 2 each, so gets 1 up. Of course, they could very much end up equal on poles, since we have 1 more race next time out. In a week's time, we will be having the championship finale at the Adelaide Street Circuit, which will be a very, very exciting one. John van der Geest says he plans to pull into the pits on the first lap of the race for a stop-go. I'm not sure whether he will or not. That's for his collision with Maxime Tendel last time out, which van der Geest and Tendel both felt was van der Geest's fault. However, Tendel saying he doesn't have to, very sportingly, and I think that Maxime Tendel will be starting this race, so I think we're going to have 12 cars on the grid, even though Tendel did not set a qualifying time, and that means that he's going to be starting from 13th on the grid, even though there are only 12 cars, and that's because he's going to be behind the camera car, so hopefully everything goes okay at the start, but it is going to be a 45-minute race around the Mosport circuit, Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, and I'm sure it's going to be unpredictable. All of the rounds of the championship so far have been. Last time out we had a cracking scrap between Drug, Lons and Muttram, where all of them had various offs at different points in time, and in the end it was Yucca Drug who came out on top. So Drug and Muttram once again starting on the front row of the grid. We're going to get 6 red lights, and when those lights go out we'll be underway. Of course, back in the day they'd have had a green flag, but the red light system is better for preventing jump starts. Here we go, 3, 4, 5 and 6, and away we go for 45 minutes of Formula 1 action here at Mosport. The cars getting off the line, and that looked to be Tim Muttram leading into turn 1 possibly. I'll be able to update you on that as soon as we get the visuals on the cars. Indeed, Tim Muttram jumped through at the head of the field, kicks it sideways. Tim Muttram leads the race. Maxime Tendil has indeed started, so we have 12 cars on the field. Here they head up towards Quebec corner for the first time of asking. It's Muttram, Drug, Lons and Brown coming through for the first time. A field of 12 McLaren Formula 1 cars, the very first McLaren Formula 1 car ever made, the 1966 M2B. Up towards Moss Corner, Yucca Drug taking a little look at Tim Muttram, although I think his main chance is here with the slipstream. These cars do slipstream well even though they don't have wings, and you can really use this to your advantage to get closer and closer to the car up ahead of you. Down the straight, up towards turn 8, the S's, and Muttram again kicks the car sideways, keeps it under control. Maxime Tendil already making up a place. Martin McLean's dropped to 12th position, so Tendil up into 11th place on this opening lap of the race. Drug taking a very different line to Muttram through that final corner, possibly having to back out of it a bit, but Muttram's gone wide. Muttram goes wide on the opening lap of the race, and Yucca Drug takes the lead on the inside. Yucca Drug takes the lead. John Van de Geest is coming in for a stop-go penalty, so he has decided to take a stop-go, feeling that his incident with Tendil last time was his pole. Very sportsmanlike for him, and also very sportsmanlike for Tendil to say that he didn't have to do that. Van de Geest did that out of his own free will. He wasn't gifted a penalty by the stewards, unless you count him as a steward in his own right. So, second lap of the race now. Tim Muttram having a look to the outside of Yucca Drug, possibly trying to get underneath him here up towards Moss Corner, and it looks as if it may work. Not quite, because Drug is able to turn the car in. These are very, very nimble cars. They don't weigh much at all. I'm not entirely sure how much they weigh, although I'd estimate that it's probably about 800 kilograms, maybe. Maybe even less than that. Here comes Muttram again to the left-hand side of Yucca Drug. And in these opening laps of the race, everyone's scrapping for position, as we've seen at every round of the championship so far. Laurent Glantz is up to 3rd position. He started 4th, so it seemed that the right-hand side of the grid got the better starts, probably because they were on the inside for the first corner. Lewis de Four setting the fastest lap of the race here on lap 2. He is currently running in 6th position. We've seen him being very strong at the start of the races all the way through the season, but unfortunately he hasn't been able to finish a race yet. So he'll be trying to do that. In terms of the championship, it's Drug leading from Muttram, Lons, Van de Geest, Brown. De Four is 6th because this point system awards attendance, so he's been scoring a lot of points just for showing up. And then it's Paul and Steve, Fabrizio Ferranti, Donny Yorth and Bill Grucock, who all have missed rounds of this championship. And up the hill again we go. Muttram again in the slipstream of Drug, and I think he might have a chance this time. He's got a proper drag down the straight. This is a real slipstreamy circuit. He's within 0.2 of a second of him, poking to the driver's left. But again, Drug holds the line and holds the position. Muttram has the ideal line though. Definitely looking to get underneath him, maybe. Going wider towards the final corner. This is where Drug passed Muttram. Drug drags his wheels through the grass. Muttram sets the fastest lap of the race, trying to chase down Yucca Drug. And gets very sideways into turn 1, possibly more sideways than he hoped to get. So drops to 6/10 back. They've got Lons and Brown right in their tail again. There was about a second between them before, well, a lap ago, but now they've come right back in again. Side by side, DeFore and Anstey over 5th place. And DeFore gets it round the outside, very good. Yorth also passed Alto on that last lap. Alto, of course, you may be familiar with. Last time out, he was racing under the pseudonym Kiko Man. And this time he's loaded in with his real name, Miko Alto. Good to see. This is his second race in this championship. No brand new drivers in this series today, but a lot of names that are relatively new to SimRacingOnline, including Miko Alto. And a lot of names that we've seen a lot before, including John Van der Geest, who is one of the series organisers, and various other elder statesman names of the grid as well, including Yucca Drug and Tim Muttram, who of course fought for this championship last season, earlier this year. And Lons really charging now. In fact, Lons is closer to Muttram all of a sudden than Muttram is to Drug. That's quite something. Lons was really pushing on that last lap, set a faster lap still than what he'd done before. Of course, these are early stages in the race, so that's not hugely impressive, but he's definitely got much, much closer to Tim Muttram. In fact, Yucca Drug has opened his lead up to about a second for the first time in the race. We have over a second separating first and second. And wide goes Lance. Manages to get it back onto the road before he lost a position to Phil Brown, although that's definitely going to lose him time there. And Brown, I don't expect will get a proper run down the straight, since Lance would have got a little bit of a run-up by running wide there, although I think overall it would have cost Lance a bit of time. Indeed, he's dropped to a second behind Muttram and all of that. Muttram briefly back within a second of Drag for the lead. And there's been a change for 9th place. Tyndall has passed Miko Alto. Got past him at the end of the straight. They're now challenging Donny Yorth as well, as Drug sets the fastest lap of the race. Tyndall gets underneath Yorth and around the outside of the final corner. This will be good if it works. It has worked. Brilliantly done. Tyndall finding some speed that he didn't have at the last round. There goes Miko Alto around the outside as well. That's also nicely done. 9th position goes to Miko Alto for the time being. These two having a proper scrap as DeFore... Oh, going off! DeFore passed Brown but overshot it. And I think that's why he was able to shoot past Brown so fast, and he's in the barrier. So DeFore bounced off the wall. And unfortunately that's happened far too much for him so far this season. And I think he may have slight damage now. And also off the road is Martin McLaren. McLaren is also in the wall. Unfortunately, I can't give you a replay of how that happened, but there's been an incident for Martin McLaren, who's now reversing. Not sure why he needs to reverse there. Come on, get it going. You don't want to be sitting there when the leaders come through. And he does still have life in the engine, so McLaren gets going again. And I don't think he'll have too much damage, so that's good. And the race continues on its way. Let's have a look back at this wonderful three-way scrap over 8th, 9th and 10th positions. Tyndall, Alto and Yorth. Very fond of passing each other around the outside. You can do that at Mosport, since these are quite wide corners with quite a lot of elevation change as well, and these are quite drifty cars. You do tend to all-wheel drift them around the corners, so if you can get the power down on the outside, you can very much slide your way past your opponents. And there's not too many marbles on the road either, since these tyres didn't degrade like they do nowadays. So going offline didn't tend to affect you that much as it does nowadays. And you could often have very, very close racing back then. Alto getting a little bit squirrely, but keeping it under control. You'll notice very different lines at every corner of the track between these three. Just trying them out to see what works. I think Yorth might have an attack here. Alter has the advantage for the time being, but Yorth has the advantage of slipstream, using the car ahead as a shield. Alter getting almost on the grass down the straight. Yorth having to back out of it, knowing that the inside line isn't the better line round the corner. You can carry far more speed if you go wide in. And Alter made a slight mistake there, getting over the grass. Careful not to cut over Yorth's nose. Nicely done, very safe. And actually, both Tendor and Auto set their personal best laps of the race that last time around. We're now 10 minutes in. 10 minutes into this race already. 35 remaining. Bill Grucock now catching up to the back of Paul Anstey. We haven't seen much of Bill Grucock yet, but I think we're about to. Because Grucock and Anstey are closing in and closing in. It's good to see that no one's got too much damage so far. I hope I'm not cursing anything. Although out of the two drivers who ended up in the wall last time around, both of those are still in the race, and neither had to duck into the pits. And the only driver who has had to have a trip through the pits so far is John Van der Geest with that stop-go. So Grucock now within half a second of Anstey. He's getting closer still with the aid of that slipstream. And now towards the end of the lap. Realistically, you need to be within 0.3 of a second of your opponent at the start of the Mario Andretti straight if you're going to pull a move by the end of it. Or you need your opponent to make a mistake elsewhere on the lap. Those are the two real ways that you pull overtakes here. Turn 1 is an opportunity, but you tend to need someone to have tagged the grass out of the final corner to pull that one off. It's certainly relatively difficult to overtake here, although one of my good friends was racing at Mosport earlier in TCR cars, and he said you can just go side by side pretty much everywhere around this lap, and indeed you can. And Grucock, very different line there, taking a look to the inside. Often that works because you show yourself to your opponent's mirrors. You make them think that you're going to go for a move. And sometimes that can really unsettle your opponents. And again, taking a little look down the straight there. I believe McLaren is off the road again. So we've had another incident for Martin McLaren. And he gets going. He's a lap down now. Tim Muttram sets the fastest lap of the race. And he's hunting down Yuka Drug at the front of the field. McLaren is back in the race. Although a long way down the order, I'm afraid to say. Hopefully he continues, because of course if drivers drop out later on in the day in the race, then he will get plenty of oh, Lister Four's made a mistake. He's moving slowly. What's going on there? Is he recovering from a spin, maybe? Well, Defoe's just been passed by that three-way scrap of Tendor, Alter and Yorth. He was a long way ahead of them a little while ago, so I think we've just had a mistake from Defoe. Indeed, yeah, he was recovering from a spin, and now someone's just gone off behind him. I think that was the lapped car of McLaren, it was indeed. But yeah, Defoe having another mistake, I'm afraid. He's had a couple so far today, as well as this season. Ended up in the wall earlier on. Possibly slight damage, maybe, which could be affecting him. Although we don't know for sure, and it certainly didn't look like there was any, or much, if any. Through turn 1, Anstey still just ahead of Grucock. I should apologise for saying that McLaren went off all by himself there. He was actually getting out of the way of Lewis Defoe, and Defoe is taking a trip down the, oh, that's heavy damage. And that would have been from the second incident, not the first. Meanwhile, Bill Grewcock has managed to get past Paul Anstey. So Dufour making a pit stop to try to repair that damage. The steering was hanging heavily, and he would have needed to make a pit stop there. There was no way he was going to continue with that. Meanwhile, Tim Muttram back to within a second of Yucca Drug. He's been pushing, and now he's catching. Although, every time it seems like he's getting closer, he then drops back again. But anyway, and a change. Alto has passed Tyndall there. That's for 7th place. Now what can Tyndall do in the slipstream? I'm not sure he's close enough to come back at him. But he's certainly going to get closer here, I expect. Muttram's last lap, 0.3 of a second faster than Drugs. And 0.8 of a second faster than Lons behind. So he's pulling away from Lons at a rapid rate of knots. Let's watch on board for a bit with Maxim Tyndall. You can see how scary it must be to have a car ahead of you, as well as another one in your mirrors. It's that attack or be attack situation that drivers really don't like being in. Meanwhile, first retirement, Lewis Dufour. He's been struggling all the way through this race, and I'm afraid it seems he's had one incident too many. And out of 5 races, he's still yet to finish one. Meanwhile, Tyndall getting very, very squirrely there. Running wide, keeping it within the lanes, keeping it under control. And again, Muttram closes up to within 0.9 of a second now of Yucca Drug. He seems to every time they exit Moss Corner. But in the last sector, Drug is so fast. Realistically, we'll have to look at what their lap times are to see exactly what the difference between the two of them is, and if it's come in or out on that last lap. And actually, Yucca Drug's lap was slightly faster than Tim Muttram's, but they set pretty much exactly the same lap realistically. So I'm going to use this opportunity to take a look back at this 3-way scrap. Alto, Tyndall and Yorth seemingly extremely evenly matched, which is wonderful to see. Tyndall, of course, retired from the race last time out. It was his debut in the series, and he was taken out in an incident with John Van der Geest. They both agree that it was Van der Geest's fault, although Van der Geest has already taken his stop-go penalty for it. So Tyndall looking for his first finish today. That's not going to help. He's going very wide. That's a long way off the road. Manages to get it under control. Didn't allow Donny Yorth through, although he's dropping back from Alto. 1.5 seconds in it now. And again, Muttram closing in on Drug. The closer he can get before the straight, the closer he's going to get in general, because then he gets more of a tow down the straight. But it can be kind of unsettling to have a car directly ahead of you in the S's. So we'll see what their laps are. Good evening to Velociter, Max Shepherd, who joins us in the YouTube chat, says evening all. Evening to you too, Mac, hope you're doing okay. Meanwhile, last time round, Tim Muttram set a lap 0.3 of a second faster than Yucca Drug, to put him seemingly permanently within a second. Well, not permanently, but for the time being anyway. But this is where Drug's strong. Muttram definitely stronger down into Moss Corner, and then also down the straight. Here we go then. This is where Muttram gets the closest in the lap. Over the crest of the hill. That's a wonderful, wonderful camera view. Almost disorientating seeing Muttram sliding around us, kicking the car sideways as he does. Along the straight again, the hazard stripes flashing on the side of Muttram's car rather, and Drug will know that he has to be cautious of Muttram behind. Although Muttram having to take 2 bites of the apple into the corner there, that's going to cost him a bit of time. Meanwhile, Martin McLuhan's in the pits and maybe out of the race. We've seen him pointing backwards a couple of times so far today, unfortunately. Hopefully he can rejoin the race. because the more people retire, the more points he's going to get, although not looking like he's going to score that many at this point in time. Although we have had quite a high attrition rate in all of the other races of the season, usually about 50%. Of course, last time out at Rouen, we had 5 finishes out of 9 starters, so very nearly a 50% DNF rate. The round before that at Horsemet, we had 8 finishes out of 11, sorry. So that was a better finishing rate. At Montjuic, we had 7 out of 11. And at the Sedgeleifer, which was always going to be a tricky track, we had 6 out of 12. So that was exactly 50%, making that our highest attrition rate of the season. To be expected, really. It was the first round of the season. And this round looking relatively clean. Martin McLaren is actually now back out on track. He may be 3 laps down, but it's good to see him still running. The more the merrier on a circuit like this. And Tim Muttram sets the fastest lap of the race, 0.8 of a second faster than Jukka Drug. Could this be the start of his proper challenge now? Quite possibly, although he does seem to really struggle when he gets that close to Drug, to keep pushing and to keep gaining. It seems there's only so much that he can gain before he starts to drop back, and he needs to capitalise on that opportunity when he gets it. But it's all about when. Now watch this wonderful camera view again and try not to get dizzy. The corner goes on for so much longer than you think it does. And Muttram makes it look so much more fluid than it feels as well. Maxim Tendil going for a move, going on the inside of Mikko Aalto. This is over 7th and 8th position. And I think Martin McLaren just had another spin looking at my times. Oh, talking of that, Aalto's off the road, he's in the grass. Keeps under control up towards Moss. I thought he may have been headed for the wall there. Well done to Aalto, and also well done to Tendil for pulling that move, but Aalto is now under pressure from Jorf. We did have another off that last lap from Martin McLaren, although he appears to still be okay. Although 3 laps down. Drug and Muttram separated by less than 0.6 of a second as they cross the start-finish line. Muttram really sticking with Drug again. Now this could be his chance. Maybe this lap, if he can get close enough into Moss Corner, he can challenge on the exit. Let's see exactly what the gap is. If it's within 0.3 of a second, he may have a challenge. Ooh, it's getting closer. Well, it's within half a second. Almost 0.4, so it's close, although I don't think close enough. Maybe next lap. And Aalto has just got back past Tendil again. So, oh, and Tendil going for another dive on the inside. These two just not letting it go, are they? Aalto cuts back in, regains that 7th position. And taking another look is Tendil. These three have been fighting for the entire race so far. Despite mistakes, they always seem to find themselves catching up to each other again. Drug sets his personal best lap of the race, but it's still not as quick as Muttram's lap. Muttram gains another 0.5 of a second, maybe. So this is the closest they've been so far. Tendil again passing Aalto through on the inside. Oh, but I have to look back at Muttram. Sorry for jumping back and forth between the two of them. It's just that Muttram is so close to Drug. And if anything happens here, I don't want to miss it. Down towards Moss Corner. He's about 0.2 of a second closer than he was a lap ago. This is promising. I think Muttram might be about to have an attack, maybe. No, I don't think he's close enough. He might just miss out this lap around. I keep saying next lap, and I think that's probably what he's thinking too. I know that yours just passed Alto for 8th, but I want to just see if anything happens here. Okay, let's have a quick look at that. Okay, they're both okay. Yours just pulling the move, going through into 8th position. Didn't see how it happened, because we were too busy watching these two. The scrapping leaders of the race. This is the most tense part of the race. And Yuka Drug again sets his personal best lap of the race. Still only just quicker than Mutram. Mutram, so close. Yours just lost 2 places, possibly got a bad exit to Canada Corner. So Alto through to 8th, Van der Geest through to 9th. Mutram almost getting underneath Drug there. Drug definitely feeling the pressure. They're interacting with each other. You can see that by their body language. Or body work language, I suppose you could say, if it's to do with cars. Not sure whether that's a bad pun or very, very true. Now Mutram's going for the better exit here. You saw that by the way he took a wider entry. And I think that may have been a slight mistake from Drug. So again, not this lap. This is thrilling between Drug and Mutram. They've been fighting for the championship all the way through this season. Alto's made a mistake. He was running through the grass. Van der Geest claims 8th place. So Van der Geest now involved in this Tendil Alto Yorth fight. He's got past Alto and Yorth already. And now he's going after Tendil. Incidentally, in the championship fight, they're currently separated by 8 points. If they finish as they are, they'll be separated by 12. Which will make it very difficult for Mutram to win the championship next time out. If they do end up separated by 12 points and to win the championship next time out, Mutram, and if Mutram wins, he will need Yuka Drug to finish 6th, which is unlikely since Drug's finished on the podium at every round so far this season. However, if they finish the other way around, and Mutram wins and Drug is 2nd, they will be separated by just 4 points, meaning that to win the championship, Mutram will... If Mutram wins, he'll need Drug 3rd. That's... or possibly even 2nd, because I think he may have won it. He may win it on countback, if that's the case. So, for Mutram, he knows that the stakes couldn't be higher. Although he did make a mistake on that last lap. Not exactly sure why he dropped back so much time. I think I was looking away at the time. But judging... Yeah, he lost about 8/10 on that last lap. But judging by the amount he's pushing, he could get right back up to Drug fairly quickly. That could give Drug a little bit of breathing space for now, though. But yeah, this matters a lot to Tim Mutram. This could be the difference between winning and losing the championship. And I think it very likely will be, in fact. Anyway, as Mutram continues to hunt down Drug, I want to take another look back to this fight, because John Van der Geest now is right on the back of Maxim Tendil. These two came together 1 week ago. And that's why Van der Geest is so far back, because he took that drive-through penalty, that stop-go penalty rather. Alto now setting his personal best, trying to stick with John Van der Geest and Maxim Tendil. Doing a good job in 9th position. And this a 3-way fight again, because Donny Yorth has dropped off the tail of them a little bit. Not entirely sure why. I think Yorth may have made a mistake somewhere. Van der Geest just looks a lot more confident with the car than these other two. You can see that by the lines he's taking. Up towards Moss Corner. Not quite as confident as Tim Mutram. You saw Mutram's line through there. He's so committed. And Alto may have an attack on Van der Geest. Actually, he got very close through Moss Corner that last time around. I thought Van der Geest looked a bit hesitant. And here comes Alto. Alto on the left side, in the grass. And if he'd avoided the grass there, I think he may well have even got past John Van der Geest. And that would really have hampered and slowed John Van der Geest's progress, although this, of course, this fight is hampering Alto, making him, well, he's not able to pass Tyndall when they've got Van der Geest between them. I don't mean to imply that Van der Geest isn't in this fight or out of Alto's league. He just appears the more confident driver at this circuit at this point in time. So through turn 2 towards Quebec corner, Van der Geest thought about it. Meanwhile, Mudrum drops to 2 seconds behind Drug, so I'm not sure that he's recovered from whatever mistake he made earlier on. And this could end up affecting his race. He was 0.3 of a second slower than Drug that last time around. This could end up affecting his championship. I really thought that Mudrum was going to win this race. Now it looks as if it's going to... it's not quite that straightforward. And not being able to find a way past Yucca Drug earlier on appears to be really affecting him now. John Van der Geest very close to the back of Maxim Tyndall this time round, forcing Tyndall to take the tighter line into turn 9. And out of the final corner, I think Van der Geest, I'd be surprised if he doesn't have a proper attempt on this lap. These opening couple of corners, not normally an overtaking opportunity unless the driver ahead goes wrong. And Tyndall there overcooked it. Right, I said that. Van der Geest is on the inside. Tyndall has the drive around the outside. He has the faster line. And keeps the inside into Quebec corner. But runs over the curb. And John Van der Geest goes through into 7th position. Here comes Alto as well. Alto getting involved. Not quite. Tyndall covers him off. So Tyndall covering him off for the time being. He's lost one place. Doesn't want to lose another in this one lap. And Mudrum is definitely dropping back from Drug now. So, while it looked as if Mudrum was going to attack, I think he just used too much of his energy, or his tyres maybe, or maybe even his fuel potentially. Tyndall now to the outside of Alto for 8th. Has he managed to keep it within the lines? I'm not sure he has actually. Where's Alto gone? Well, he went very wide. That allowed Tyndall to keep 8th place. I think that was a mistake from Alto more than a proper overtaking opportunity. Would have been an opportunity if he had not made that mistake. But that's irrelevant. So back within half a second, within 0.4 of a second now. Tyndall not confident through that opening corner. We've seen 2 laps in a row, him losing a lot of time to his opponents there. And John Van der Geest already starting to stretch his legs. Almost 2 seconds ahead of Alto now. And going after Paul Anstey, although he'll probably need Anstey to make a mistake if he's going to make that move. Since he'll need to gain 12 seconds on him in 12 minutes. Oh, and wide goes Tyndall. Tyndall running off the road, and through into 8th goes Alto. So a mistake. They both made mistakes in the last lap of racing. And that puts Tyndall to a second behind Alto. Gets the slipstream down the straight. He's going to stick with him maybe. Although Alto through into that 8th position. Of course, they were fighting with Donny Yorth earlier on. Yorth back within 7 seconds of them, although wasn't earlier on. Matt Shepard in the YouTube chat saying Tim's really dropped off the pace in the last few laps. Indeed he has. He's now 3.4 seconds behind Yucca Drug, as near as makes not much difference. And that means that he's going to have a really, really tough job if he's going to win this championship. He will need to win the next race with Yucca Drug in 6th position, effectively. Of course, it depends how many cars turn up. There could be other ways that he could win the championship, although realistically, he will need to finish about 6 or 7 positions ahead of Yuka Drug. And the only realistic way that's going to happen is if Yuka has a nightmare of a race and possibly crashes out or gets rammed off by someone else. And as a result, Yuka Drug will definitely be the championship favourite going into the next round, but I may be speaking too soon. We still have 10 minutes of this race remaining. The order currently is Drug, followed by Muttram, Lons, Brown, Grukak, Anstey, Van de Geest, Alto, Tendil, Yorf and McLaren. So now we've reached a point in the race where we can start having a look at some of the other drivers that we haven't had a look at so far today. Lauren Lons has been driving a quiet race in third position, just how he likes it. Lons, the king of third place. He's finished on the podium at every single round of this championship so far. He was third in the first 3 races of the championship, and then second last time out at Rouen. He was also third in the very first championship that we did with the GPL cars, the GPL Classic Series 1967, when we did that near the start of the series. And only drove a couple of races in the second series that we did. Wasn't quite so competitive in that, although he's right back to his competitive ways in the McLaren. Hasn't quite had the pace of Muttram or Drug, but he's certainly been keeping himself in contention, and he will still likely have a mathematical shot at the championship going into the next round. As they stand, he currently has a 17-point deficit to Yuka Drug, and he will have a 21-point deficit going into the next round. Meaning, let me just work that out, and that means that 1, 2. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so that means if he wins and Drug places 10th place and Muttram places... Okay, so it's going to be 13 points between him and Muttram. So Muttram will need to place 6th. So at the next round, if they finish like this today, and then Lons wins the next round with Muttram 6th or lower and Drug 10th or lower, Lons could still win the championship. It's unlikely, but could definitely happen, especially if Racing Forgive, Drug and Muttram come together. But anyway, still the 3 championship contenders, 1, 2 and 3 in the order in their championship positions. They've clearly been the 3 fastest drivers all the way through this series. Tendil's spinning, Tendil's lost it. And Maxime Tendil, who still looks if he may be running in 9th position when he rejoins. I don't think he's going to lose a place to Yorf. That's the first proper spin we've seen him have today. We saw him having a brief off earlier on, although that's the first big mistake we've seen him have today. And that's definitely put him a long way back from Alto, who he's fighting with. Just overcooked it on the way into the final corner. Got it all crossed up out of turn 9, and once he was on the grass there was no saving it. Did well to keep it out of the wall. Touched the brakes and kept it under control. Let's have a look at some more drivers. This is Bill Grukak, currently running in 5th position in the number 8 car. And Bill Grukak, of course, one of the drivers who hasn't made every round of this series. He's currently 10th in the championship after making only 2 rounds of the series so far. And he got his best series result last time out with 4th position at Rouen. and he could still equal that today if someone ahead of him retires or has a big error or something. But still running strong in 5th position in one of the nicest liveried cars on the grid. Of course, back in the 60s, most Formula 1 cars ran in their national colours, meaning Italian cars ran in red, German cars ran in white, British cars ran in green, and French cars ran in blue. Meanwhile, Tim Muttram sets the fastest lap of the race, trying to hunt down Yuka Drug, but I think it's too little too late because he's only 2.4 seconds back from Drug at this point in time. And his late attack may have come a bit too late. Paul Anstey, currently running in 6th position, doing a good job, especially considering he didn't know if he was going to be racing earlier. I think he felt ill. Although, managed to get to the grid, and is still running in 6th position as it stands. Not sure, let me just double check that. I may be completely making that up. Oh no, he wasn't feeling it at all. He was just having issues with the server password. My apologies for misunderstanding that. Actually, no, he did say it. Yeah, he did say that he wasn't feeling very well. So, well done for making it to the grid. Thank you for joining us, and good job so far from Paul Anstey. Of course, in previous seasons, only the top 6 were given points. Nowadays, it's, well, everyone who starts the race, which I think is a better point scoring system because it awards attendance rather than flat out ability. And there were drivers before who really didn't feel that they should turn up because they knew they weren't going to finish in the top 6. And that defeats the objective of SimRacingOnline. We want to get everyone involved. We want to have as many drivers on the grid as we can. It's a completely amateur series. It's a lot of fun. There's no entry fee. And all you have to do to enter is go to the SimRacingOnline website, simracingonline.co.uk. Check our championship page for our upcoming championships and sign up. And we have championships in all sorts of different simulators as well. We have championships on Assetto Corsa, R-Factor 2, Race Room Racing Experience, R-Factor 1, Assetto Corsa Competizioni, Automobilista, and Project Cars 2. And if you want to race against me and see if you have what it takes to beat a racing commentator, I expect that I will be racing in the remaining rounds of the Ferrari Challenge Championship that we're doing on the R-Factor 2 platform. And I also am definitely considering doing the Formula 4 Championship that we have powered by ACD, which is coming up next year. That's Martin McLean there, getting out of the way of Maxime Tendel. Doing a good job of keeping it clean and parking the car, so I think Martin McLean may be out of the race here, unfortunately. It's a shame for him, especially since he got this far through, but he's 5 laps down, so I think he may be about to give up. Here's Yuka Drug, still leading this race by 2 seconds. The gap's definitely come in, but Drug doesn't really need to push at this point in time. He's got a bit of a buffer. He just needs to make sure he doesn't drop back too much to Muttram and doesn't make any big errors. He'll have 1 more lap to go after this before he takes that victory. Yuka Drug, of course, double champion in the GPL series, which we ran on the F1 1967 mod earlier this year. And now going for his 3rd championship. He won't wrap it up today. For that, he would have needed Tim Muttram and Lauren Lons to fail to start, I expect. But he is going to get a lot closer. And if he finishes in the top 5 next time out, providing he does win today, he will be crowned triple champion of the GPL mod pack. Almost unbeaten in terms of championships. Of course, in terms of races, we've also had wins for Tim Muttram. We had one for Fabrizio Ferrante last season, or in the first season, sorry, and last season as well. I think we had a win from someone else. We did indeed. Matteo Santini and Daniele Scarpa both picked up a victory. Shame we don't see Scarpa around much. He still has a 100% winning record in these cars. And it'd be wonderful to see what he could do with a full season. But anyway, Yucca coming towards the end of the race. The timer about to take to 0 now. And that means that we are officially on the final lap of the race. Muttram, or Drug, just has 2 corners to go before he claims the victory. It's going to be relatively close, although Muttram was not able to attack. And Yucca Drug wins again. This time at Mosport, he extends his championship lead. Tim Muttram is second. Laurent Lons is going to claim another 3rd place. That's his 4th 3rd place of the season out of 5 races. Crossing the line and doing a wonderful job to pick up that 3rd place position. I expect he'll be happy with that. Phil Brown is about to finish 4th place. Another good drive from Phil Brown. Always one of those drivers who's there or thereabouts. Doesn't usually win races, but he's always close. And 4th place goes to way of Phil Brown. Here comes Bill Grucock, 5th place. Nicely done for Bill Grucock. I should point out as well that Brown is one of 6 drivers who's made every round of this series, so good to see him keep coming back. Paul Anstey, who's only missed 1 round this season, finishes in 6th place. John Van der Geest, another one of the drivers who's made every round, is going to finish 7th after the drive-through. Very sportsmanlike drive-through, possibly cost him that 6th place looking at the times. Miko Alto finishes 8th. Maxime Tendel is going to finish for the first time, and to finish in 9th position as well. I should point out as well that that was Miko Alto's first finish, as he just about failed to finish last time out. And also Donny Yorth claimed 10th position, with Martin McLuhan officially classified as 11th. I'm not sure if he crossed the finish line or not, but he is officially classified as 11th position. I think we can find out if he crossed the finish line. He did not. Okay. Or at least I don't think he did. Oh, he did! Yeah, Martin McLuhan did cross the finish line. Well, good for him. So, congratulations to Yucca Drug. He extends his championship lead. Congrats to Muttram and Lons as well for their podiums. We will be back for a championship decider in a week's time. It's almost gone the way of Yucca Drug. He only needs to finish in the top 5 next time to claim the championship, so effectively if he finishes, he's won it. But yeah, wonderful race and wonderful series so far for Yucca Drug. So don't miss Adelaide in a week's time. And for now, good night.